Chapter 2: Arthur Conan Doyle and the Development of Sherlock Holmes. Arthur Ignatius Conan Doyle, the creator of Sherlock Holmes, was born on May 22nd, 1859, in Edinburgh, Scotland, to Charles Altamont Doyle and Mary Folly Doyle. They were affluent and strict Irish Catholics. His father was a Victorian artist but never became as successful in his art as his own father, John Doyle, or his brother, Richard Doyle. His lack of success with his art led him to depression and alcoholism. As Arthur grew, he spent his early childhood listening to his mother telling him brilliantly animated and captivating tales that held his attention and sparked his imagination. When he turned 9, Arthur was sent off to Hodder Place, a Jesuit boarding school in Stonyhurst, England. Here he retreated into a world of characters and stories to escape the corporal punishment by the educators and bullying by the other students. In time, his ability to spin a story drew a following of younger students eager to listen, spellbound to his tales. When he graduated from Stonyhurst College in 1876, Doyle's family expected him to come back to the family business in the art world. Instead, he decided to pursue a career in medicine at the University of Edinburgh Medical School. It was there he met fellow classmates and future authors Robert Louis Stevenson and James Barrie. He also was introduced to his future mentor, Dr. Joseph Bell, a surgeon at the Royal Infirmary of Edinburgh, for whom Doyle later worked as a clerk. Bell, with his shrewd perception and sharp attention to detail, was the strongest inspiration for the Sherlock Holmes character. Doyle wrote his first short story, The Mystery of Sasassa Valley, while in medical school. His second story, The American Tale, was printed in the London Society publication while in his third year of medical school. Doyle took a job on a whaling ship traveling around the Arctic Circle. This voyage stirred his sense of adventure and brought about the inspiration for his next story, Captain of the Pole Star. Doyle returned to medical school in 1880 and graduated in 1881. His first paying job as a doctor was aboard the steamship Mamboa, which traveled from Liverpool to Africa. After a while, he opened his first medical practice in Portsmouth, England, divided his time between medicine and writing. After a few years, Doyle gave up his medical practice and devoted all his time to writing. It was during his final years in medical school and as a physician that Doyle renounced his Roman Catholic faith and turned toward spiritualism. He alluded to this newfound religion in many of his writings. The Sherlock Holmes and Dr. Watson characters were presented in his first novel, originally named A Tangled Skein and later renamed A Study in Scarlet. At first, his publishers, Ward and Locke, looked at it as just another cheap fiction book similar to what was flooding the market at the time. In 1887, they featured the work in Beeton's Christmas Annual. Doyle used some of his father's art as illustrations in the book. That same year, Doyle submitted two letters detailing his conversion to spiritualism to a weekly paper called Light. His faith would be repeated as a topic in three later books: Beyond the City 1893, The Stark Mundo Letters 1895, and a duet with an occasional chorus 1899. In addition, he worked on spreading the word of spiritualism through a series of works: The New Revolution, The Vital Message, The Wanderings of a Spiritualist, and the History of Spiritualism. Experts consider these pieces to be, for the most part, autobiographical. Doyle's dream was to write historical books and was able to fit these in among his other writing, although they did not pay enough to devote his full time to writing them. His published historical books included The Great Shadow, that centered on the Napoleonic era, and his most famous historical novel, Rodney Stone. His career was starting to take off, and he was getting more and more paid commissions for his work. An American publisher authorized the penning of a work of Doyle's titled The Sign of Four, featuring the Sherlock Holmes character, while the newly published Strand magazine whetted the appetites of readers with short stories about Holmes. These works would later become a collection of 56 stories and 4 novels titled The Adventure of Sherlock Holmes. All but 4 of these works were narrated by Holmes' friend and biographer, Dr. John H. Watson. Doyle penned the stories for Strand magazine in a series of 6 installments. By the end of the second series, Doyle felt he wanted to move on to more serious writing and had gotten weary of the Holmes character, so he killed him off in a physical fight with his nemesis, Professor Moriarty, and Reichenbach Falls. The killing off of the character produced such an outpouring of anger from his fans, including his mother, that he was forced to resurrect him as a ghost in the Hounds of the Baskervilles and as a fully revived man in the Adventures of the Empty House. The character had become so lucrative to him that he couldn't abandon him, and besides, it was financing his missionary work on behalf of spiritualism. While Doyle was still struggling to make a name for himself as an author, he met and married his first wife, Louisa Hawkins. The couple had 2 children, a boy and a girl. In 1993, Lois was stricken with tuberculosis. She died in his arms in 1906. The following year, Doyle married Jean Lackey, and they had 2 sons and a daughter. Arthur Conan Doyle's last 12 stories about the great detective were published in 1928 in the Casebook of Sherlock Holmes. Doyle, against the advice of his doctors after he had been diagnosed with angina pectoris, conducted a missionary tour of the Netherlands. In the fall of 1929, he returned to his home in Crowborg, England, where he died in his garden on July 7, 1930. Now, chapter 2, exercise. Without going back through the last chapter, can you recall these facts? First, what was Doyle's full name? Second, what was his father's middle name? Third, what boarding school did Doyle attend? Fourth, From what medical school did Holmes graduate? Fifth, in what book were the characters of Holmes and Watson introduced? Sixth, what is Watson's first name? Seventh, what was the name of the place Doyle first killed Holmes of? Eighth, what was the name of the steamship Doyle took his first job on after graduation from medical school? Ninth, what religion did Doyle take up when he renounced Catholicism? 10th, who was Doyle's greatest mentor and the basis for the Holmes character? And again, for videos on how to memorize like Sherlock Holmes, you can visit sherlockskills.com. It is not a promotion, it's just what is written in the book.